How is everyone? Good afternoon. We're starting at almost 3 p.m. because, Ugandans. But I hope you're all doing well. My name is Mirembe. I'm a curator and a writer. And today we're going to talk about Matt Kayem's practice. Matt is an artist. He is an art critic. And what else do you do?
YouTuber these days.
Yes, he does YouTube like all the cool kids these days. And Matt thought it important to talk about his artistic practice. He just had a book launch like a month ago. He wrote a book on, he'll talk about it. But he is having an exhibition later in the year, and he felt it necessary to introduce his artistic practice because I think of late we've known him more as a writer and an art critic. But he wants to be on both playing grounds, yeah? He wants to be on the sidelines and also be on the field. So this is to introduce his new body of work that he's working on ahead of the exhibition that will be later in the year. So, yeah.
I thought I should be doing this right at this moment because, first of all, I haven't shown my work publicly in Uganda for a long time. I had a show. I was in a group show in Masaka. That was last year, Masaka Gallery, with some Ghanaians. That was a very interesting project. But I haven't had a solo show in Kampala or even Uganda in a while. I last had one in 2018 at the Design Hub. That was my last show on home soil. So I thought I should, try to reintroduce my work in the minds of the Ugandan audience, which is the most important audience, perhaps, for any artist, for any, practitioner. But I also thought it's important to have this at this place because it aligns with my ideologies, with my, subject matter in the work. So Sankara Pan-African Library, I saw it as a very important place to my work. I'm going to start with presenting my work, of course, talking a little bit. Yeah, I'm an artist. I'm also an art writer. But being an artist came to me first. That's what I usually say, because I could run you through a little bit about my background, which I think informs my present-day practice as an artist. I grew up in a small town in Mityana, that's 60 kilometers from the capital. My parents owned this bookstore in the heart of the town. So I was introduced to writing and books and alphabets even before so many other kids, so many of my peers. So by the time I joined kindergarten school, I was sort of, these things were not new to me. I was very good with writing, I was good with drawing and everything else. So I think that was important. And also because, I was handed paper and pens by my father, my mother, before I went to kindergarten school. I think that's a very important step for any young kid growing up, being handed a piece of blank paper to express themselves. So I think that built in me something, some creative thing. So yeah, that is my background. As regards writing, I think I came across writing, or I should say my writing started in my high school. I was very much interested in reading magazines, not full-fledged books, 300-page books or anything like that. I was interested in short magazines, glossy magazines, fashion magazine, lifestyle, kind of thing. So I used to read, collect magazines around. I think that's where my, writing came from. But I also, in my high school, I was in the writing club. I used to write small things on notice board, and I think that's where my writing journey starts from. Yeah, I've written for a few publications. I've written for Nairobi Contemporary. It's based in Nairobi. It's no longer running now. It's a little bit on the low. But I used to do a physical book, a physical publication every, I think quarterly, every, 4 times a year, I think. If I can remember very well, but it's been some time. They closed shop. Yeah, so and written for Start Journal. That's a Kampala-based publication, mostly online now. It used to also run physically. Was started by Daudi Karungi and African Arts, Kampala Arts Trust. PSPculture.com, it's online based. Africa.org, Contemporary and independent magazine. It's locally based, run by Andrew Mwenda, a veteran journalist. Yeah, my work, I'm interested, my artistic practice, I'm interested in issues of identity, race, African history, decolonization, black consciousness, sometimes religion, sexuality, and pop culture. All these things merge together they come together in my work. So yeah, I usually revisit pre-colonial Buganda and pick out a few items like the backcloth that I use in my work. Backcloth is somewhere on the hat there. It's usually brown. But yeah, I have 3 fabrics in my work. That's a denim that usually forms the background. The 3 fabrics form different layers of meanings. The denim is like represents the Western aesthetic that looms around Africans today. It has been around in the colonial times. It's still around us. I mean, Western imperialism still looms around. So it's represented by the denim in my work. The blue, the gloomy blue. That's what I see it. So, and then the dashworks print, or the kitenge, for that matter. It has so many names. In West Africa, sometimes they call it Ankara, but we call it kitenge here in East Africa. So for that, it forms sort of the in-between. It's like the fake Africa, because of its origin and where it comes from and its histories. Because this fabric, the kitenge or the dashworks print, was made in Netherlands, and then they tried to sell it to Indonesia, but it failed. But then it came to Africa, and now it has a home in Africa because we like it. But then we've taken it on, and when you look at this fabric, it has so many similarities to other fabrics that are native to Africa. When you look at those motifs, when you look at those that design language, is very synonymous with what we've had in Africa before. When you look at the kente cloth in Ghana, when you look at the Ndebele hats in South Africa, you can see all that. There's already this Dutch people were very smart to look at what was on the continent and repackage it, sell it back to us. I mean, yeah. So that's it. And the backcloth, which is very important in my work because the backcloth is very presently is very actively produced in Buganda region. But I look at the backcloth as something that represents Africa, the whole of Africa, because it has been traced in so many other African, places. There have been similar fabrics in Ghana. That's what for sure I know. There's what they call chen. It's a similar backcloth similar fabric to backcloth. That's produced in Ghana. It's been produced there for ages, just like backcloth has been in the central part of, Uganda, what we call Uganda today. But yeah, backcloth has traces in somewhere in Congo. I was in Zambia some time back, and they told me they used to make backcloth. The Bemba people used to make backcloth in Zambia. So I see backcloth as very much an African product that cuts across the whole continent. I mean, when you even go back to history, you can trace similar fibers in ancient Egypt, what sometimes some of us usually want to call kemet. So, I mean, the fabrics or the fibers they used to make to wrap the mummies, the pharaohs in, are similar to what backcloth is today.
I feel like you've skipped to the end because this is a new body of work that you are working on. Yeah. But something I found interesting is in Matt's studio, he has a photograph of Kabaka Mwanga right there in the center of his studio. And I'm curious about why that is. But also, you are not always using denim as a canvas. I think there's a history to that. So what were you using before and how do you come to use denim as your canvas?
So I've always used denim ever since I left art school in 2015. I went to school at Michelangelo. I did a certificate and diploma. When I left, I remember I was pushing to do a show at Underground Gallery in 2016. There was it was managed by Violet Nantume and a Japanese Kei Hashimoto. He used to sell cars, but then he was also interested in art. So I pushed him to have a show there, and I managed to take him to my studio back when I was staying in Entebbe, next to Michelangelo. And he comes to my studio, looks at my schoolwork. He's like, no, I cannot show this. When he looks down, there were so many jeans I used to paint, and I had so many jeans on the floor in my small, one-roomed, house. And then he's like, can you do something with the jeans? And I look at the jeans, I'm like, what can I do with these jeans? And then I'm like, I could probably, cut them together and form a canvas. And then that's where I began from. Because also at Michelangelo, we were so much pushed, we were always pushed to, look at things the other way around. You look beyond, the traditional way of working and doing things. They used to push us to think creatively. So I think that's where all that comes from. So I added the jeans together and I came up with something. And this Hashimoto had introduced me to so many other contemporary artists. Jean-Michel Basquiat, I was hearing the names for the first time. Damien Hirst and everything else. So, and this is the work I produced for my very first solo show. If you can see that very well. But it was work on denim. It was very, very expressive, very aggressive, very, very wild, should I say. It was similar to what Basquiat used to do. I was burning the denim, burning the jeans. I was having these cartoonish figures. That was the work. So I called the body of work Pop Rap Hip. Actually, Kei Hashimoto helped me with forming the title for the body of work, because it felt like my work had so many references to pop culture, of course. And then I thought I was hip because of the way I used to dress up and everything. I don't know. But yeah, that was the work in 2016. And I did an installation that same year. 2016, I did installation at the Kampala Biennale. It was running for its second edition. So I did this installation. It was around mobility. So I thought about what was happening around this time, that you can move around the whole world in the same place. You can be a stark traveler. So that was the concept around that installation. So 2018, I explored some photography. I did that. Also around the same things. I think around this time, 2017, and I really never did anything. I never did a show. But I think that's around the time that my ideologies about decolonization, Pan-Africanism were forming. Before that, I was never the kind of person I am today. I was just not a normal guy, should I say. So this is when I become a fanatic about everything to do with our culture, heritage, how important it is to us, and then this is what comes out of that.
Is this the Cool Africa series?
Yeah, this is
Could you talk more about that?
Cool Africa. So Cool Africa series, I showed this at Design Hub in 2018. So this body of work had paintings mostly. I didn't put the paintings here, but it had paintings mostly. Yeah, but yeah, and then in 2019, I followed it up with Cool Africa 2 series that I showed in Nairobi at the Kyoko Moitiki Gallery. So this had mostly photography and some few paintings as well. Yeah. 2020, that's when the pandemic hit. I was going for, I was supposed to go, I went for a residency. I finally went. I went for a residency in Lusaka, Zambia. I left March. And the work I did back there in Lusaka was very different from what I was doing because of, the period. Because I go down to Lusaka and I was, there's a lady who runs Mozi Arts Space where I did my residency. And when I just landed like this, she picked me up and she started going on about what is happening right now, and she was questioning the whole, scenario and everything happening, how the numbers, the news is feeding us with, funny numbers, and then, it was a funny period. And Africa, it was very interesting. And she made me see a whole angle of what was taking place. And she actually very much inspired this work. So, and I sat around, I'm like, wow, I think I need to, sort of respond to what's happening. So I did this body of work. I worked on denim as well. But this time I drew on the denim, I wrote on the denim. You could say, you could see a little basket in it as well because of writing, but also I was thinking about Leonardo da Vinci's notes and how he used to, have these notes and then, draw and then whatever. So that's what I did. So I did some of this work inspired by the pandemic and the period and what was going on. Particular work was called The Journey, and it was all about my journey. Some of this was called The Mastermind. It was about, the big shots, the corporations, the Bill Gates, and how they were enjoying that period, saying whatever is going to happen, predicting, that sort of thing. So yeah, I very much had very good engagement with this work, with this body of work. It's one of those works I really had people come in the room, they could stare at the work, and they could have so many long conversations about what was happening, and it was very engaging, this body of work. Of all the works I've done, this was like a wall drawing. It was, we painted one of the walls of the gallery black, and then I went there, I got my shock, and then I did this piece. It was huge, as big as that, this wall. So yeah, and I call it Africa is not getting it. So it was very interesting. This is my present day work that I'm working on. I want to call it In a Blue World. Maybe the title might change. But I've been working on this body of work since 2020. So, and I have a bunch of works in this body of work. I've sold a few, which is sad. I cannot get them back for the show. But let's see what I can, gather around for the show later on this year. But yeah, these are some of the works in the... We could briefly talk about this. I think it's right here. I call this the discourteous stranger in my backyard. I'm very much in love with titles. I love titles. I think it's because of my writing background, I guess. But I love to title works and what could be interesting titles. And yeah, I thought of this stranger that is not, what discourteous is, could mean somebody who's not appreciative of, of somebody who's not even probably taking, who's not courteous, should I say, to put it simply, who's not careful or respectful of other people's things. At least that's what I thought about when I was doing this one. So yeah, and I imagine this, I didn't imagine, this actually setting is a popular destination in western Uganda, Lake Bonyonyi. So I thought of that landscape, then a figure of what you could say me, and then the discourteous stranger is actually that hummingbird. It's not native to this land, it's not native to Africa, it's not native to Uganda. So it's trying to pick on the sunflower, trying to get nectar from the sunflower. And it's, there's some aloe vera. The hummingbird doesn't see the aloe vera, doesn't know that probably the aloe vera has more medicinal values, so it's just going straight for what they know that is good. So that is the work. It's a little bit metaphoric, but yeah.
In a lot of this body of work and even Cool Africa series, there's a lot of self-portraiture.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that? Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me the painting myself in the works is also, I see myself representing Africa or representing other young people on the continent. I see myself as somebody who's trying to spread a good gospel, as I could put it. I see myself as, should I say, I don't know if it would be right to call myself, I idolize people like Fela Kuti or Franz Fanon or something like that, or even Kendrick Lamar. So yeah, I want to see, I want every other African young person to see themselves when they see my figure. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what I'm trying to drive at. But yeah, that is. But this could be anybody else. That's what I'm trying to say. It's also about accessibility of my models. I can easily have myself posing for me, but yeah. So I've had my brother pose for me as well, but yeah. Yeah. This work, I called it the caged bird doesn't know it can fly. So I looked at the neighborhood and I'm like, these people seem to be imprisoned. And this is not new. It's everywhere to the few African countries I've been to. When people get a little money, the middle class, they move to these neighborhoods. They build high-wall fences around them, and they stay there. And they think it's what everybody who has money is doing. And for me, this the direct opposite of what we used to have in Africa before colonialism came. We used to know our next door neighbors. We never had those high wall fences. We had some small bushes around maybe, but your kids played with the other neighbors' kids and they knew each other very well. But these seem to be like some sort of prisons. You don't know your next door neighbor. And these walls, for me, they sort of represented what used to be there during the colonial period. You know, these colonial agents are the ones who actually introduced these things. They used to have these firewall fences to guard them from the Africans. For me, it sort of, it was funny that these guys have gone, but we still take pride in, you know, taking on what they used to have or what they used to do. So that was very paradoxical for me, and I played with it here in this work called the Cage Bar Doesn't Know You Can Fly. When I'm in this, my neighborhood, I usually ride this motorcycle around and make noise for people. And there's a young, you know, young kids who usually follow me around and they're very happy. I love to think that I'm the free one. So yeah, so in this work, the motorcycle could represent freedom. I could represent freedom as well. Yeah, and I hope I'm influencing people in the right direction by my actual outrageous, you know, behavior, I guess. But yeah, that's the work. Yeah, my work usually has two layers. However you want to see it, you could see it from the surface. It's just a motorcycle. It's just a kid, and maybe, and then probably we could talk about other things after you've seen that.
Also, just curious about the colors that you use for your skin tones while painting, especially because I think we're talking about your evolution from these kind of abstract figures into like this figuration, which is also kind of trending on the art market. But there's an interesting way that you're using colors.
These colors for me, kind of, I was trying to play with the phrase people of color. So, yeah, as opposed to, I was not trying to fight anything, but as opposed to what other people are doing, they have black figures, and that's sort of like a trendy thing. I think my work is different. It doesn't really sold as hotcake as other trendy black figure work. But yeah, I was playing with the phrase people of color, and I thought I should have my people colorful. You know, also trying to project the vibrancy I see around Uganda, for that matter. The young people around, most of us are usually below the age of 30. They say Uganda is one of the youngest populations in the whole world. So, and I see a lot of this vibrancy around, I see a lot of this energy, and I wanted to project that through the skins of my, figures, the skins of African people, black people. I wanted to project that, that vibrancy, that energy, that resilience, that beauty. So that is why my skins are like that. Yeah.
And with the Cool Africa series, I don't know if people saw the photographs. You are mainly in the photographs, and you're wearing backcloth and have this African kind of Victor Diop setting in the photographs. And you've said that in your work you're really thinking about Pan-Africanism and decoloniality and all of those things. And I'm just wondering what the Cool Africa series did for your articulation of this thinking.
I think, yeah, the Cool Africa series was for me the beginning of everything. For me to start forming a language around these ideologies. So many artists, I know some artists, when you meet them and you talk to them, they have these deep conversations about, politics and everything that's happening around. But when you look at the work, it's completely different. They just want to paint elephants, which is very funny to me. But but for me, I was like, I'm getting introduced to these ideologies. I once listened to, there was a workshop that was attached to Clay Art Festival run by 32 Degrees East, and there was a workshop that was at the National Theatre. I think it must have been 2017 actually. And Mr. Kalundi Serumaga was giving a talk about cultural heritage. I think that was one of the turning points So when I heard him speak, I was like, what the hell? So yeah, I was
What did
like,
he say?
eh?
What did he say?
I mean, he talked about, our relationship with ancient Egypt, and he connected these two as the Great Lakes peoples with ancient Egypt. I was like, what the hell? Why did they try to, hide this sort of stuff from us? So it really opened my mind as regards to who we are and why this is very much important. We've so much been demoralized and degenerated by colonialism as people, as African people. So I saw this as a way to, regain our place in the world. So, and for me, Cool Africa, that was the beginning of everything. Me trying to translate what I was thinking into art. So that was the genesis of, trying to formulate these ideas, trying to make them into paintings or even sculptures. I'd stopped making sculptures by that time. I was into photography and painting. The photography was taking a lead. So yeah, that was it.
Mm-hmm. And so then you move into this series, The Blue World, where you are kind of layering these three materials, the backcloth, the denim, and the chitenge, which I guess in a way sort of you're resolving these things you're thinking about pre-colonial Buganda and, where we are at now. And I'm just curious what moving from photography to painting, is it a better way to articulate this vision or?
Absolutely. For me, I see dishing the photography, but first of all, also dishing the sculpture, uh, and continue with this collage painting. This collage painting really, for me, speaks louder than any of the other forms as regards, projecting my ideologies about these things, decolonization. I think for me, when I arrived at this language, playing around with these three fabrics, I was like, this is it. So, yeah, I mean, I've had galleries come to me and they're like, but we used to love your sculptures. Why don't you make those things? And I'm like, I don't know how to lie to you, how I could stand or sit somewhere in front of you and talk about the sculptures because I mean, what I'm thinking right now cannot be translated very well through the sculptures. Maybe the photography was better at translating that language, but I can't do that through those mediums anymore. I think the painting hits home, hits it for me. So that's why I stuck through it and continue with it up to now. But I'm going back to the sculptures too soon. Actually, this year I've been pushed to go back to sculptures. Yeah, actually, they might be at my show as well.
You are also a writer and art critic. Do you want to just talk about soul art briefly before you go into how does your practice as a writer stroke art critic inform your practice as an artist?
Yeah, I could talk about soul art. I don't want to talk much about it, but let me throw in something about soul art. So this book, I was in a project. I was paired with an artist, Daniel Atenyi, and that Vivid Synergies was a residency project, and I was supposed to be a writer on that project. He was the artist on the project, and I was supposed to write something inspired by his work. So, and I came up with that book. When I looked at his work, I thought it reminded me of soul music. The way he drew his on paper and the way he played around with his figures, and he was very, deeply emotional. The way also he talked about it, he talked about his work. So, and I thought about Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Michael Kiwanuka, those kinds of people when I looked at his work. So, and then I came up with that book. It's not a monograph because he's a very young artist. He's just coming up. So he hasn't built a huge body of work to have a whole, 100 pages written about him. But I thought I should include so many voices that speak the same language as Daniel Atenyi. So there's so many voices in that book that I think, speak the same language. Because in the book, I'm trying to add three things together: art, music, and emotions. So that's where I was at with that book. Yeah, that's it. It's on sale. If you want a copy, just 20,000. I have a few with me. I can sign them for you if you want as well.
How does your practice as an art critic inform your practice as an artist?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting question. Those are two different things for me. At least that's the way I see it. When I'm an artist, I'm an artist. When I'm a writer, I'm a writer. I want to separate the two. I introduce myself as an artist and writer, and it's like, well, you can't be the referee and the player at the same time. So, and to that I usually say, it was interesting because I went home and thought about it more deeply. But then to that I usually say that for me becoming a writer was also one of the reasons was because there was a gap that needed to be filled as regards art writing on the Ugandan art scene. And I felt like I could write, I could do something with that. And I started writing. And when I started writing, I just kept improving and people loved the writing. And I was like, okay. Every time I was surprised, I was getting, phone calls and everything and emails. People want me to write for their platform. Like, okay, I just continued. It was never my plan. So, and I've always wanted to run away from writing, but opportunities just kept coming. And I always kept telling people, but next year I'm going to put writing down and concentrate on my art. But then that has never happened. Other people are like, you can't just leave it like that. Just continue writing with it. So I guess you just have to, continue writing and being an artist as well. Mm-hmm. I think I should stop when I see that I've inspired some young people to join the writing journey. But maybe then I'll probably stop writing and concentrate on being an artist because I'm an artist first. Yeah.
Okay, you've also mentioned that your practice has maybe become a bit more subdued from when you were younger. What has informed that change? Subdued? In the sense that I think you were doing more experimental work.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Because, I think it comes with growing up. You become more careful. When you grow up, you become less reckless. I think I was a little bit reckless, but I was a little bit wilder. I did a lot of work that was, used to raise hairs. But yeah, some artists, some older artists usually approach me, some friends, and they're like, man, I used to like, I love the old you. You were less timid, but these days you're very much controlled. You're afraid. You're scared. But it's not about being afraid. It's me growing up. It's me being more, I guess, more serious. I don't know. Yeah. It's for the better, I guess. It's for the better. Yeah.
And this new body of work is called In the Blue World. What is the color blue doing for you?
For me, the color blue is, I think it just happened automatically because the jeans are blue that I use, or jeans are usually blue. I didn't want to use any other kind of color, so I stuck with blue. But then also, when you look at the color blue, it kind of rhymes with gloominess, the gloom, sadness. Usually, people like Picasso used it for their blue period. So yeah, I look at that. The blue world is the world around the African that is, waiting to prey on them. So it's this world that the African is trying to exist in, trying to probably, glow in. It's the world around the African that is sad, that is that gloomy, but then the African still try to stand tall and then stand bright in this dark, gloomy blue world. So, in a sense, yeah.
I think I just wanted to know, because you get these gins from downtown, and I wanted to know what you think the people that you buy the gins from would probably make of your work, how you think they'd receive it, or if it would translate for them.
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yeah. I mean, honestly, to tell you the truth, yeah, it would be nice to have to show my work to the people downtown. How am I going to do that? I don't know. But that's another question. But honestly, I think, yeah, I'm always, I mean, we're always trying to, or we always speak about trying to include other, you know, groups of people in our art practice, or how we don't want it to be elitist and everything. But I mean, the fabrics of art are, you know, around elitism and probably intellectualism and all that kind of, you know, booky stuff we can't run away from. I mean, we can only do much, probably. Yeah, but I don't see myself overhauling the system. I'll try. I'm trying to, but there's only much I can do. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to have my work appeal to those people, but any chance I can get, I can always utilize to have it. I mean, where I buy my jeans from, I buy them from Owino. I've had camera people follow me sometime to record some behind the scenes, but that's about it. I don't usually get so much questions from the sellers of those jeans. I would want my practice to, especially I mean the themes and the subject matter and the concepts that I talk about in my work. I want them to open the minds of fellow Africans. Yeah, I want my work to do the same thing as what Kendrick Lamar's music is doing, or what Fela Kuti's music did or used to do, or what Frantz Fanon's work has done, or what Cheikh Anta Diop has done. Yeah, I pretty much want to be in the same line or to be included in the same conversations as those people. So I want my work to, yeah, to do those things, to open up the minds of Africans today, young Africans, and yeah, for a better, you know, continent. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Matt, and thank you so much, everyone, for being here for the talk. We really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for being around.